Hello lovelies, and welcome to the October 2024 episode of the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast. My name's Lesley. This is a podcast recorded on the south coast of the UK, and it's all about knitting, crochet, spinning. If I can do something with yarn, I'll have a go. Hope everyone's well. Thank you for all your thoughts and comments and your well wishes. I'm still slowly working my way through comments, and I'm really touched by all of your good wishes, so thank you very much for those. Record the podcast in sections as I have something finished or something to show you, and then I put them all together and post it on the last weekend of the month. It's called the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast because I rarely have enough of the same colour or the same base to make a complete garment, and I tend to be a sweater knitter as a general rule. So lots of marling of fine yarns, blocks, stripes, fades, all of the things to put different yarns together and just see what I can come up with. I cook in pretty much the same way. What's in the fridge? Oh, we'll have that for dinner. You know how it goes. I am waiting for the prizes to arrive for the make along, which finished at the end of September. So once I have those prizes that I can show you, then I will pull the winners and you can claim your goodies. But talking of goodies, this is my birthday month and I have been in receipt of goodies myself. So some friends and family bought me some yarn. So firstly, himself's family, sister-in-law, brother-in-law and their boys, got me a couple of balls of lovely soft Katia Concept Reiki yarn. This is colour 204. The yarn makeup is 60% alpaca, 29% wool, 11% polyamide, 50 grams, 120 metres. Very Ukrainian flag, this one. I'm liking that. And then this same yarn, same base, but beautiful reds, rusts, very autumnal. So I don't know what I'm going to make with these as yet, but something. And then another friend got me some yarn, so I have two of each of these. So the first is King Cole Price Wise in the Parsley colourway. This is 100% acrylic, 100 grams, 290 metres. The same base in this beautiful teal colour. Its colour name is Wave, turquoise rather than teal, but Wave, and I'm loving that. And then also Premier Value, again 100 grams, this time 285 metres, in the Oxblood colourway. On my camera screen it's coming up a little light, it's a slightly darker shade than it's showing, but fab things will be made of there. Now, as I've got 6 balls, because I have 2 of each colour, whether she's after a blanket from me or not, she hasn't said. We shall see. Nothing else to say at this juncture, so catch up with you later in the month. Cheers. Hello lovelies. Before I talk about my new hat, the Chocolate Fairies from last month, the very kind giver of the Chocolate Fairies has got in touch, so thank you again to them. And someone said they wanted to see one of them, so here's a photograph. And very yummy they are too. As you can see, I have a new tit for. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, Cockney rhyming slang, tit for tat hat. So this is a crocheted hat, and I got the pattern from this book, which is Designer Crochet by Shana Mullet-Bowlesby. Long-term viewers will remember a long time ago I tried to make a sweater and the grading was a dog's breakfast, thankfully, so I didn't go for that, but I thought, well, they can't go wrong on a hat, and they didn't, you know, I mean, let's be fair. So I started this hat, threesome set number 1, dodgy title, but there we go, cuffed beanie, hat, cowl and wrist warmers. Now this has a pattern which I started to do It's a front post stitch pattern, but I just found it wasn't really working. Now it may be because of the variegation in this yarn, I just didn't like the way it was looking. So I ripped back to the ribbing and just worked straight half trebles, half doubles in the US. And then when I got to the end, I thought actually I preferred the wrong side, the texture of it, to the right. So I turned it inside out. I didn't turn it inside out properly when I sewed it up because the seam's on the outside. I don't care. Classic mistake. Used to do it on fold back cuffs all the time. I'm just going to consider it a signature move from me. So I'm going to put this in close so you can see the texture. And I just preferred that to the other side. It's not a huge difference, but that's what I preferred, so that's what we have. So I used a 3.5mm hook, I think. My gauge was pretty close. I didn't really do a swatch. I just started and then did a comparison. My stitch gauge was fewer stitches to the inch, so actually I've done the stitch count for the smallest size, which is nice because then that's a nice quick project, but my row gauge was about the same, so number of rows matched. The only thing I changed is I increased the frequency of the decreases. That's a convoluted sentence, isn't it? I decreased more often. They had some rows in between. I took them out. I tried it on when I got to about here and realised that it was getting long enough, so I wanted a flatter top. So that's what we've got here. The yarn is by Whimsy Stitches Yarn Co. This was given to me a while ago, so thank you again, lovely person who gave me this yarn. It's their singles sock base, which is a 4-ply fingering weight yarn, 100% superwash merino, 400 meters per 100 grams. Peppermint mocha is the colourway, and I used 68 grams. So I need to work out how many meters that is. 68 times 4 is 272 meters. There we go. Yes, I should be able to do maths like that in my head, but I can't, so there. So it's a very warm hat, and I'm pleased with it. Given the colours, I think this is the one I'll be wearing around Christmas time. Yes, I've mentioned it again, and I can only apologise. But I'm pleased with it. It'll be nice and warm. Now, I have taken on board what a lot of lovely folks have said, which is about the sensitivity of the skin for chemo patients. And much as this is 100% merino and lovely and soft, the skin can become very sensitive, and so it would possibly become a bit itchy. So I have ordered cotton and bamboo caps. They look like swimming hats, you know, just really close caps, which my crafted hats will go on top of. So it'll be another layer for warmth. They'll also probably be quite useful for sleeping in, because people I know who have lost their hair for alopecia, for chemo, for whatever reason, have found they're a bit chilly at night. So I figure these thin hats will be quite handy for sleeping. I mean, I may need these chaps as well, but if not, they'll be quite good for sleeping in so that I'm not feeling too cold. But yeah, so thank you for all the advice. Lots of people mention that, so thank you for that. I've ordered those, say, very thin bamboo or cotton or mixture caps, which will go under my hand knitted and crocheted ones. So I think that's that for this. All my sentences are all over the place today. Perhaps it's time to go. See you later. Hello lovelies, how are we all? Oh, I'm a bit of a mess. Quelle surprise. Hope everyone's okay. I've got the last 2 hats made. I've decided to make 5. This is because I have 6 chemo sessions planned. Didn't need a hat for the first one. Probably won't need one for the second, but wanted one anyway. Both of these hats, like one of the earlier ones I made, are based on the Barley sock hat by Tin Can Knits. And as with the previous one that I made, I used it pretty much for the numbers, but then change the pattern. So the barley, like all of that range, have a panel of garter stitch, which isn't really to my taste. So I used the numbers, but changed the pattern. So here's the first one. And this yarn is that beautiful Attic spin dye yarn that I was sent whilst I was in hospital. So thank you again, lovely people who sent this to me. It is stunning yarn. It's 50% merino, 50% silk. It's in the Romeo and Juliet colourway. It's a fingering 4-ply weight, and it is beautiful. It didn't even get into the stash cupboard. It went from the skein to the cake onto the needles because it was just so lovely and so perfect. So the hat itself, I more or less used the barley pattern. What I did with this was I made a multiple of 6 stitches plus 5. So after I'd finished the ribs, I then just did a very simple stripe of 4 plain stitches, 4 knit stitches and 2 purl. And because I was on a multiple of 6 plus 5, it gave this diagonal effect. So very simple, very memorable, very easy. When I got towards the top, obviously the pattern started to go a little bit out of kilter, and in the end, for the last few sections, last few rows, I was just doing purl stitches, so reverse stocking stitch. But very simple. It's a good basic hat pattern, very adaptable, blank canvas, so that's why I was happy to use it. I also used some of that yarn for the ribbing on my final hat, and this will be my final hat. I'm going to use this for my final session, and I wanted to be a little bit naughty, but not too naughty. Those who know me outside of the podcast know that I swear like a sailor. I try not to on the podcast because I know that not everyone wants to hear it, but I am fairly potty-mouthed. So I wanted something that said, forget cancer. But because I don't like to be unnecessarily offensive most of the time, I didn't want to put it in the middle of the hat so that if I was walking down the street and someone was there with the small children, there's me with obscenities across the hat. Now, I had seen on Instagram, and I should have made a note of the name of the person, so apologies that I didn't, but they had necklaces with the forget cancer message in Morse. So with long beads and short beads, they had these great necklaces. And I thought, oh, that's a good idea. But when I started working out how I was going to do that with beads, it was actually going to be quite a long way around the hat, because I was going to use 3 beads for the dash, and single beads for the dots, and have gaps in between. So when you get to a 6-letter word, that's then quite a lot of stitches. So I was looking for an alternative, and I've used Braille. I'm not a Braille reader. I'm working on the theory that, of course, there are people who will read it and know exactly what it says and they can see it. But if it's someone who can't see it but finds out about it, I can warn them that it has a rude word on it before they run their finger across it. So this is, in Braille, cancer. So the hat, again, it's the Barley Hat sock weight by Tin Can Knits. I did this one top down because I didn't know how much of this yarn I would have. This is Rowan wool cotton. It's quite a thick hat, quite a nice soft feel to it. So although I have received the very fine caps in cotton and bamboo, this one may be okay just to wear as is next to skin, depending on how the beads feel, because you can feel them through the underside as well. So I use the method of applying beads using a fine crochet hook. So the beads have a reasonable size hole. I can fit a crochet hook through them, catch the next stitch on the left hand needle, I'm a right-handed knitter, put the stitch back on the needle, knit it so that the bead falls to the bottom of the stitch as you pull it across. So I hope that makes sense. So I knit this one top down. I started with just garter at the top. I actually started straight, although it's a hat knitted in the round. Because I was starting on a very small number of stitches, I tend to work straight and then just seam the first few rows. Just find that easier. So I knitted down added in the beads, knitted down till I ran out of yarn, which worked quite nicely for then a contrast rib in the Attic Spin Dye merino silk. So this will be my final hat. Hopefully, certainly be my final session hat this time round. And yeah, interesting without being too offensive, hopefully. So those are my hats for the moment. If I want to make some more, I can always do some on the whirly machine as well, which take about 20 minutes. But it felt like a good effort to make some handmade, hand-knitted hats to give me something to do while in preparation for the treatment. And the knitter in me wanted individual handmade hats for each session. Same as the knitter in me will be wearing a different handmade cardigan each time I go for session. I've got a pick line here, so that's actually my sleeve, that's not the pick line, but I've got a pick line here so the cardigan sleeve can come off and I can still look fabulous. I'll look like a sort of Prussian 18th century, probably got my dates wrong, soldier. You know, they used to have those things where the jackets kind of hang half over. I fancy that kind of look. Because obviously I look like a natural military person. Yeah. So yes, those are my hats all done. And I'll see you in the next session. Cheers. Hello lovelies. I'm wearing a quick little FO that made in a couple of days. Not the sweater, that's the Recalibrate that I did with my Advent last year. But this cowl. Now my mate Mandy, known amongst this parish, doesn't normally watch the podcast, but because I haven't been doing the weekly vlogs, she's been watching the podcast. Either that or it's because my sister was on it. Anyway, she quite liked the hand something cowl that I made that my sister was demonstrating. And she said she would like something similar. So this is not hand spun, this is some beautiful yarn by Fruitful Fusion. Let me whip it off. So this is their 100% superwash merino, Aran weight, 166 meters per 100 grams in the Stir Crazy Pink colourway. And as you can see, it's a very simple cowl. I cast on 110 stitches with 5mm needles and just worked one row, knit, one purl one until I ran out of yarn to give this nice sort of deep cowl. I had made her a cowl previously, but she liked the depth of the hand spun one that I'd made. So when she's sitting reading, she can sort of tuck it up. It's lovely and squishy yarn. It is superwash, although when you open up the ball band, it does say for best results, hand wash in cold water and dry flat. But it is a superwash yarn, so she'll be able to sling that in the machine should she so desire. After her cats have pulled it to shreds, no doubt. But really quick make. I think I did it in sort of 2-3 days. Really lovely squishy yarn, lovely and soft. So I hope that she likes it. Fingers crossed. Hello lovelies. I have a few more of the crochet squares to show you. These are from the 200 crochet squares, Afghan squares, something like that, by Jan Eaton. And I'm just working my way through the book, not doing every single one. And I will make a blanket at some point. So I'll show you the ones that I've made. We have the Alhambra, kind of, it's a good granny variation of a sort, isn't it? I'm sure that the designer would be delighted to hear me call it that, but let me put it against something dark so you can see the pattern better. It has been blocked, although it's a little bit wonky. Never mind. The next one is Corner Square. Fairly straightforward. And then this one is more complicated, and this is the Water Lily. If I turn that, you can see it has a three-dimensional element to it. So I'm just working my way through. When I fancy doing something different, a little palette cleanser, or if I've been working on a big chunk of something, then the next one of these squares works well. I've just got a bag of 4-ply fingering weight acrylic yarn, and I'm just choosing the colours according to what I feel like at the time. My usual scientific approach. So I don't know how many of these I've got now. I might start sewing them together, but it would make more sense to wait until I've got all the ones I'm going to make and then lay them all out. Making sense isn't always my priority, so we'll see. Might happen, might not. Cheers. Hello lovelies. Again, the generosity of you gorgeous people is warming my heart no end, and I thank you. I've had so many lovely comments and thoughts and encouragement and advice, and I'm very appreciative. And I've also had offers. No, not that sort of offers. Keep it out of the gutter, please, madam. People have offered to make hats for me, and some people have sent some hats, which I'll show you in a sec. And thank you, that is so kind. I really do appreciate the offers. As you can see, I have plenty of hats, and I'm very grateful, but I feel the generosity of your time and resources would be appreciated locally. So if you have a local chemo centre or anywhere that would appreciate a handmade hat, please do make one and donate it locally, and they will be very appreciative, and I am very grateful that you're doing it with me in mind. So thank you for the offer. I hope I don't sound ungracious if I'm saying actually I'm okay, but spread the love is what I'm saying. So thank you so much. And yep, your local treatment centre would be very grateful. I know at my local one there's a box of hats which when I've finished treatment I will probably put mine into. I'll wash them and put them into. So yeah, please do share the love. It is really very much appreciated. But I have been kindly sent some hats, and I'm not going to put them on because I've got wet hair. Yeah, I'm such a pro. But Lisa sent me this lovely one, which is I think she said it's a tin can knits pattern, and she made it out of bamboo, and it is fabulous. The bonnet, beloved bonnet, something like that. So thank you, Lisa. I mean, thanks for privately, and thanks for the chocolates as well. She knows me so well. Beautiful, feels gorgeous, so thank you. Also Benta, who is amazing, as we know. Benta, the epilogue lady, who has decided not to podcast for a little while. She's got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of family commitments, and she wants to focus her time on her family, which is absolutely, of course, you know, why wouldn't you? And she has been running the Fluff to Stuff Mal this year. So that's spinning yarn, but then actually making something with it, because it's easy to spin it and just put it in a box and think I'll do something with that later. And this is going to look odd because she vacuum seals stuff, because that is a genius thing to do for getting it through the post. But look at the colours in this. Hand dyed by Benta, using her Arctic Crafts logo. That was the name of her shop. And it's 100 grams of Cheviot fluff. I'm going to keep it in this because it's perfect protection from moths in one of these. But look at those colours. Again, knows me so well. But Benta also very kindly sent me, I was surprised because I knew that there was some fluff coming, but then this box arrived. Why would that fluff go in that box? That's a lot. But lovely card. Oh, and Lisa also sent a beautiful card, a print of a painting which was stunning. And Benta's put in a couple of hats. So again, my colours exactly. They're all my colours, who are we kidding? But that one, a rainbow with some stunning colour work. She is a very, very talented knitter. And a beautiful, enormous, I mean, look at this. I don't know whether to call it a scarf, a stole, a wrap, but I do know to call it gorgeous because look at it, it is absolutely beautiful. So thank you, Benta. Just, again, obviously thanked her privately, but just such kindness, such generosity, and just, my cockles are warmed. That's the cockles of my heart, in case you're worried there's a seafood thing going on. But yeah, just such kindness. So thank you all very much. I am feeling very spoiled. Hello, lovelies, again. I'm a finished object. My knitting mojo has returned. My crafting mojo. I've got a crochet thing on the go as well. And I've finished an item, a big one, not a hat for a change. I started a while ago, well back in June actually, making the turtle dove cardigan. I'll put the designer name on the screen because it's gone from my head. And I was using strands of very fine yarn held together. This goes back to the yarn that I bought years ago, before I started the podcast years ago. When Texair Yarns, which was a yarn company in the UK, when their business failed, a local place near to me acquired cones and cones and cones of stuff, and they were selling these things for like 10 pence each. I mean, absolute giveaway price. And not one to refuse a bargain, especially where anything yarny is concerned. I had a lot of it. I still have a lot of it. Some of these cones are 100% silk, which sounds very glamorous and very luxurious. They're not. It's quite a rough silk. It's not a high-end silk. I don't know the differences. Experts would be able to tell me, no doubt, but these are quite sort of rough. They don't have that kind of drape and bounce that you would expect with a silk yarn. But they're still nice colours and still useful to have. Eventually, it's taken me this long. So I have put 3 strands of the silk. That's 3, not 4. I'm doing 4 because I've been putting them with other yarn that I have. And I had 3 different skeins or balls or hanks, or, you know, however they came, of cream / undyed / off-white lace weight yarn, some of which had silk in it, some of which was merino. Nice lace weight yarn, but I had 3 balls of cream coloured, and the reality is I am not really a lace weight knitter because I don't have the patience, but it made a good base to put with these other strands. So mostly I've used grey. I did start off with some blue and then ran out of that. Of course I did, not quite enough yarn. But in all cases I had 4 strands of yarn altogether. One of the cream, the lace weight yarn, at least 2 of the grey, and then either another of the grey or one of the blue, and made the cardigan. So it shows up quite well in real life that there are sort of stripes where the colours have changed, sometimes where the lace weight, the cream has changed. I don't know if you can see it on the sleeve. Yes, you can. That's grand. So where the lace weight has changed, or where the colours of the silk have changed. But they're all kind of blending together. I didn't bother fading them or even blocking them that carefully. I mean, I tried to put some on the sleeves. I thought I'd split a little ball of yarn in half so that it would be half and half. You know, I'd have similar length of stripes down the 2 sleeves. That didn't happen at all. I really don't mind. So the Turtle Dove cardigan, it's a fairly simple, it's a free pattern I think on Ravelry, and may even be available not on Ravelry. I link all patterns below. If it is a Ravelry link, I type Ravelry link so that you're aware, because I know not everyone is a Ravelry user. If there is ever an option between Ravelry or non-Ravelry, I'll put the other link to give as much availability to as many people as require. It's a top-down raglan cardigan, open-fronted. I mean, I could have put buttonholes in, but I didn't. It's got quite a deep raglan, so it's quite a casual fit. My row gauge was out, and my row gauge meant that I was coming in a little shorter, which suited me because I didn't necessarily want the raglan, the armhole, to start sort of halfway to my waist, because it then makes the sleeve very big. So I worked, I think, pretty much the number of rows set, but then that made it a shorter raglan, which just what I wanted. A lot of twisted rib in this, which I'd never done before. I don't know why. Well, never intentionally. I mean, I've twisted stitches unintentionally. And I think because I've heard people say, oh gosh, twisted rib, and if you're working flat, then you've got to twist the purl stitches, as if it's this great laborious thing. I didn't find it so. Partly I'm very used to purling. My early days of knitting were all flat pieces. I purl as easily as I knit, so that didn't bother me. Twisted purling didn't bother me any more than twisted knitting did. And also because this was worked at a quite loose gauge, because it were on big needles, but the equivalent of a kind of 4-ply, possibly even a sport weight, but certainly a fine weight for a 6mm needle or whatever it was. It wasn't pulling tight on the needle, so there was plenty of room to get your needle in and twist it as you needed. I worked down, so you start with the collar, which is great. You haven't got to go back and pick that up. The bands are worked in as you go, so you don't have to go back and pick those up, which is something I like. Partly because it's less faff, and partly because then you can just keep going until you run out of yarn, which is exactly what I did. So, worked down, did the sleeves. I altered some of the row specifications in terms of how long to do the cuff for, how long to do things for, because I'm making it for me. I'm not the same size as the standard on the pattern, so that's what we do, isn't it? And then I worked down in stocking stitch for a while, changed to twisted rib, and then just literally kept going until I ran out of yarn. I'm going to hold this upside down to show you. So it's quite a deep welt on this, which I rather like. Normally I'm sort of as little rib as possible because it just gets a bit boring and you're wanting to finish, but I just kept going till I ran out. So I've got this deeper welt, which I think works well with this because of the nature of the yarn and the gauge. It's very soft, very drapey, very light. It'll be a nice kind of 3-season cardi, I think. I think it will work well for the warmer months. And I think that depth of welt helps just kind of hold the shape and just keeps it neat. And the fact that it's a twisted rib kind of holds it nicely as well. I think that's all I've got to tell you about it. You have seen it before, but a long time ago, because here's the marker. So I hadn't even split for the sleeves when you saw it before, and now it's finished. So quite a bit done. My knitting mojo returned, but it is a very simple piece. And that kind of suited what I wanted to do. I was listening to audiobooks, I was watching YouTube videos and all of that. So just very simple, keep knit, 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 and purl, purl, purl until I'm done. So all sorted. I will put some photographs in here of me wearing it so you can see what it looks like on. And yeah, I'm pleased with it. It needs a block. I haven't blocked it yet. I'll do that in a minute once I've taken the photographs. I don't know that blocking is going to make a huge amount of difference, but it'll just even out a few bits, I hope. So there we go, the Turtle Dove cardigan in an assortment of yarns held together, which means I used something like 6,000 metres because I had 4 strands together, so it would normally be about 1,500 metres. There, that's easy. And I made the largest size so it just hangs sort of loose, and like I say, it is quite a casual fit, very deep raglan, which I shortened slightly, but I think that will be a very useful wardrobe addition. I do like a nice wardrobe addition. Cheers. Prize draw time. Yippee! So this is, sorry, where that yippee came from. This is for the modification mal, which, just to have a quick recap, ran from beginning of the year to the end of September for projects which had been started on or after the 24th of December last year, which had been modified in some way, not just straight yarn substitution. If you were following a pattern exactly just with different yarns, that's not a modification, that's just yarn substitution. But if you were changing the length, putting in shaping where there wasn't any, adding a different type of neckline, putting in a different type of heel, unusual for a sweater, but can be done. Turning a cardigan into a sweater or a sweater into a cardigan, designing your own pattern, anything that required going off page was eligible. Amazing number of entries. Thank you so much to everyone who took part. An amazing number of people commenting on other people's posts, engaging in the process, asking questions, giving encouragement. It has been a joy to read all year, so thank you so much to everyone who's taken part in whatever form that is. Really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. If you'd never modified before, it may have given you a bit of a spur to do it. If you're a regular modifier, then great. It was made for you. So thank you to everyone who took part, and here are the draws. Now, the Q2 prize I re-announced last month because I'd had that hiatus in the middle. It still hasn't been claimed. So that person has lost their opportunity, I'm afraid, and it has been redrawn. So the June prize, which is a skein of yarn from Folkestone Harbour Yarn, is for post 904, which is a modified dishcloth pattern, and the person's Ravelry name is Godstolen. I'm not sure if I'm mispronouncing that, and apologies if I am. I don't have any other details of any other names or location, but please do get in contact either via Ravelry, Instagram, or email me notquiteenoughyarn@gmail.com and let me have a postal address, and I will get that in the mail to you. Thank you. The year-long draw. I have decided to do two yarn prizes and a couple of pattern prizes. So the first pattern prize is for a comment on the thread which didn't have any picture with it, because it was a comment on someone else's post, and that was post number 1157 by Adronda, who is Margaret in Zurich, and Margaret was commenting on another person's project, which was lovely. Very encouraging thoughts and comments. So Margaret, if you'd be kind enough to get in touch, let me know what pattern you would like and I will get that to you. Thank you. The other pattern prize, I did this last year, I think, and it's for the chattiest poster, because I know some people don't necessarily do a lot of posting of projects, but they're very engaged in the thread and they're very encouraging and they're very supportive. So I have decided to offer a pattern to the person who made the most posts on that thread, and that is Bar, who I think may have been the chattiest in the past. Apologies if I'm wrong on that, but yeah, so thank you for your involvement, because that's what makes this work. It's people getting involved and reacting, interacting with each other. Well, reacting is interaction. Anyway, so thank you. And again, if you could please get hold of me and let me know what pattern you would like, I'll get that to you. I did two pattern prizes. Now, all year I've been putting together an advent which I swap with Megan in New Zealand. These are scrap advents. I'm not going to pretend they're anything other than they're not. They are leftovers. They're all fingering 4-ply weight yarn. Some will be hand-dyed, some will be commercial, there'll be different fibre types, but it's a scrappy advent. Megan and I swap. We also swap confectionery, and as I was putting together one with Megan, I thought I'd put together a couple. So as I made a project, I just kept the big enough pieces to one side and put them in a box and, you know, kept them to one side. So what we have here, these aren't 24-day advents. I was torn between, do I do one 24-day advent, which would be mixed weights? By weights I mean the actual physical balls of yarn, they're all 4-ply weight. Or do I do two 12 days of Christmas? And I decided to go with the latter because there's been so much involvement in this mal, and I wanted to share the love as much as possible. Share the love is phrase of the podcast, obviously. So there is a 20 gram 12 days of Advent and a 10 gram 12 days of Advent. And like I say, these are mixtures, some commercial sock yarn, some hand-dyed, some I'm not quite sure, but there are 12 of each of them plus a skein. So you are getting a skein of yarn as well, and that's from Lamington Lass, local dyer to me, relatively. So we have 2 winners of the 12 days of Advent. Now, because these are predominantly sock yarns, and where I know what they are, I've put a little label in so you know what the content is, what it is, who it's by. You can use them for heels and toes. You know, that some people make an Advent project, some people put them in their minis jar container for heels, toes, cuffs, that sort of thing. So obviously what you do with it is up to you. Once it's yours, it's yours. So the first prize goes to post number 623, which is Mary Wanamaker, who is a member of our Zoom call. So there's no nepotism here, but it's lovely that it's someone that I have spoken to face to face via a screen, if you see what I mean. So that's grand. And Mary made some modified mittens for her sister. So congratulations, Mary. I think I have your address, but if you can just claim the prize, that would be grand. Thank you. And yeah, we'll get that to you. Obviously, the sooner these things are claimed, the better chance you have in time for Advent, if you wanted to do an Advent project. Like I say, they're 12 days, so you've got halfway through December if you wanted to do a run up to Christmas thing. Assuming you celebrate Christmas, who knows? But just enjoy whatever you do with it. The second prize, so the 10 gram minis, go to Knitting Bandit for post number 1211. That's Lorna from Newry in Northern Ireland, and Lorna made socks for a birthday gift. So congratulations to you as well, Lorna. Again, please get in touch, let me know your postal address and I will get that to you. And yes, there's also a skein of Lamington Lass yarn, a full 100 gram skein, as well as the minis. So I think that's all the prizes. Thank you again to everyone who took part and everyone who chatted on the thread and clicked buttons and liked and encouraged others. It was a fun mal. May do it again. Life is very up and down at the moment, so I'm not making long-term plans, but it was a modification. It was a mal that I would happily do again because I think it encompassed a lot of crafters. So yeah, it may happen, no promises. Thank you everyone for taking part. Cheers. Hello lovelies, sorry I've got a bit of spectacular reflection. I think it's the camera screen, so apologies if you're seeing multiple images of me. Hope everyone's okay. Just a couple of works in progress to show you, and then I'll do a bit of a life update. I realise not everyone's here for that, so I will warn you when it's coming. But works in progress first of all. Neither of these are knitted, but they are both yarny. And the first is something I've not really used before, plastic canvas. And it's funny how the universe puts things together, because I know Aquila I haven't caught up with all of her podcasts yet, but she's been working on a plastic canvas Halloween house, which looks amazing. Mine is much simpler than that and is of my own design. We have a stairway with a banister that it's patterned so I can tie things through it, and I normally tie a wide ribbon there to hang up Christmas cards. But it occurred to me that I could make something better. So I have a long piece of plastic canvas, well, several pieces of plastic canvas joined together, and I just went onto Pinterest and found some Christmassy motifs. That star is a little bit wonky, but never mind. Looks like I've got a white edge on it on my camera screen, and I haven't, but anyway. So we've got some Christmas trees, we've got a gift, we've got a better star, got a candle, and then I've just put a couple of holes, hello, in each end so that I can use a ribbon to tie them onto the banister rail. And then I'll just attach cards using paper clips, clothes pegs, that kind of thing. So I'm quite a way through it, just a few motifs. Like I say, went onto Pinterest, looked for free Christmas cross-stitch patterns and just found a few simple designs. A couple I made up. This, I was trying a different stitch pattern. I thought that looks like a candle, so I made it into one. The present I kind of made myself. So yeah, all fairly simple and straightforward. And when the Christmas cards arrive, this will be covered anyway, but I thought it'd be something sort of decorative in case no Christmas cards arrive, or once, you know, before they go on. So that's that one. The other project is a crochet sweater. Now let me find the pattern. It's called the Tannis sweater, which is confusing because it's not by Tannis Fibre Arts. It is by Tinderbox, and I'm afraid I don't know the name of the designer, but Tinderbox is the name they use. And it's a crochet sweater with a slight pattern around the yoke that you then fade out as you work your way down. So that's what we have here. I've decided it's time to use the good yarn. So we have La Bien-Aimée, a Swedish name I can't pronounce, sorry, ignorance on my part. And we're then on some Stranded Dye Works. And I've forgotten what this latest one is. When I've finished it, I'll go through it all in a lot of detail. And I think I might finish it by next month because it's coming along pretty well. Nice, straightforward pattern. Well, I say that, but I completely messed it up. There's a little note in the pattern that says, if your stitch count, sorry, I'm warm, I'm going to take the sweater off. If your stitch count is out by 2 or 3, doesn't matter. Mine was out by 70, but it fits. Yeah, I think here is a lesson to always check your stitch count. And I think I hear himself and the dog returning. Maybe not. Yeah. Oh, they haven't come in yet. You start increasing on pretty much the first row, and then each increase is a multiple of the pattern repeat. And I obviously did it wrong row 1 and didn't really check my stitch count. There's a lesson. However, I did try it on and it fits, so although it's wrong, it's okay. Yes, himself is back, but he's promised to be quiet. So he is quiet. He's a quiet man. He doesn't get a lot of choice with me. He's nodding. Yeah, a lot. His head's going to fall off if he nods anymore. So, life update. If you're not here for that, just here for the yarny stuff, absolutely fine. Hope to see you next month. Take care of yourselves and thanks for watching. If you are here for the life stuff, brace yourself. It's not been fun. So it's 3 weeks since my last confession, no, treatment, and that was my first one. And generally, I feel I've been pretty lucky. So I've only really had 3 what I would consider to be bad days. Days with a lot of pain or discomfort or sickness. My main symptoms have been unexpected in that they've been aching legs or nosebleeds. Neither of these are uncommon, but I just wasn't expecting either of them. So. Unfortunately, one of them was yesterday. There was a bit of a mess up over hospital appointments, which left me running late, and I knew we were going on to something else, so I was getting quite agitated. And I was trying to do the slow breathing and all the meditation techniques, but I was still fretting. So we started, after that, going on to our nice afternoon out, and I started getting a nosebleed. So picture, if you will, the lovely image of me dripping over a drain on a residential street. Because it was quite profuse. And this very kind lady came out to ask if she could help at all, and provided us with a box of tissues and the most important supply you can think of when you have a nosebleed. Good job I didn't have one during lockdown. And yes, so this went on for probably about sort of half an hour. So I was rather wobbly by the time I'd stopped bleeding quite so profusely. Managed to stand up because I'd sat down on the road by this point to drip. Sorry, horrible images. And himself helped me up. And then he was alarmed at how wobbly I was. I didn't feel as wobbly as I apparently was, but I mean, I did ask him to hold on to me. But yes, it wasn't fun. So we came home, had to miss our afternoon treat, unfortunately. And I slept for most of the rest of the day, apart from when I had a phone call to say that my treatment has been delayed for next week because of some issues that were picked up in the blood test. That was before I lost all that blood. So. Hope no one's blood phobic listening to this. Apologies if you are. So that wasn't great. I slept the rest of the day, feeling much, much better this morning. Bit wobbly, but a lot better than I was. Gonna have a very quiet weekend, and hopefully that will do the trick. Rest is usually the answer. So I've got to have more blood tests on Monday, and hopefully the treatment will only be delayed a couple of days, and it will be on Wednesday. So that's kind of where we're at. So a day of disappointments yesterday, but none of them are the end of the world, so that's all good. Makes it sound all doom and gloom. Like I say, largely I've been okay. Tired more than I would normally be, but these are all things that we would expect. And generally I feel I've been pretty lucky. I haven't been kind of days unable to do anything or any kind of real bad symptoms for more than about, you know, when I've had a rough time, it's been for about half a day, so it's manageable, she said, hopefully. I've been told that the next treatment side effects very similar to the first, so expecting more of the same and just cracking on, really. It's all we can do. Himself, and I'm not just saying this because he's in the room, has been a star. He's been looking after me very well. So yes, I'm very well looked after, and I appreciate all your warm wishes and thoughts and kind words, so thank you for those. I'm sorry I still haven't answered comments from 2 months ago. I'm getting to them, I promise. But I hope that you're all well. I hope that whatever you're up to is bringing you fun, and that you're keeping chipper. That's going to be word of the day, I think. Take care, everyone. Thanks very much for all your support, and happy crafting. I hope you're able to do the things that bring you some joy, and look forward to seeing you next month. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.